Well, here we are. It is Friday, the 20th of February, and I hope everybody's well. You had a good week. And as you know, we're getting ready to go. Each year, my wife and I go down to Central America to Belize for a few weeks. We're leaving on Tuesday, and we've got Buck is all set. I know some of you, I get emails from you about Buck, the dog, and he's all set. He's staying with some very good friends of ours who we watch their dog when they travel, and they watch our dog when we travel, and he'll be fine. And uh, uh, we're leaving on Tuesday. We got somebody taking care of the house, so everything's all squared away, and that's that. Now, what's been going on this week, as I mentioned in the last couple of weeks, there were some sales coming along, some good auctions were going to be popping up in the next few weeks, and they started already. And I'm going to go through a sale that's coming up in just a couple of weeks at Leland Little. They've got some nice blue and white pieces, so stick around for that. Some good Japanese things, and then there's a sale coming up in New Hampshire after that on the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th at Moissan's. And we're going to talk about that separately because there's a lot of China trade stuff in this sale and some superb examples. Really good China trade porcelain. And the sale runs for 3 days, and there's a bit of Chinese stuff in each day. I think the third day is the one that has this one particular collection from here in Massachusetts that's very, very good. And we'll get on to that shortly. And this is the Moisen sale here. The things are online right now. You can go and look at them and so forth. As always, he'll do he's done a good job with the cataloging. Lots of photographs, lots and lots of photos. He's very generous with photos. That's what I like about his sales. And I think it's going to be a good auction. All right. And we're going to get to the Leland Little sales coming up in a couple of weeks. That looks pretty good too, I have to say. They got some nice examples. But before we do, I'm going to go through some results and talk about a few things that have happened in the last week. And that's the Moisen sale. These are some of the pieces. This is one of the pieces that's in that sale. I'll just give you a quick preview. It's a charger. It's about 15 inches. It's only estimated at $500 to $800. It's a wonderful Kangxi example. And then there's this salver based on an English silver form. It's a porcelain tray, and it's very big. It is 16 1/4 inches in diameter. Really, really fine example. So if this is the kind of stuff you like, stick around. I'll be doing a video on it. In the meantime, you can go over there and check out the sale. All right, now some results from last week. We'll do a few results first because there were some very nice results and there were some bargains. So it's and there was a shock sale. So we'll get to that in a minute. But we had talked about this cloisonné piece last week, and I thought it would bring 2,000 or 3,000, maybe something like that, because it was unsigned. I thought it was awfully nice quality. Well, apparently a lot of people really, really loved it. By the time the piece was sold, it had 89 watchers. I think it had 70 or so when we did the preview last week. And instead of going for 3,000 plus the premium or something, it went for 6,500 plus the premium. So about just somewhere in the low $8,000 range. But it was a great piece of cloisonné. So I don't think anybody overpaid. And apparently in person, it was just amazing. So there you go. Wonderful quality and quality. And this was a Meiji period example. And then hopping along over to this was a sale over at Drew Eats over in England, and we talked about it last week because they seem to have been getting very good results with Japanese pieces of the 18th and 17th century in their last few sales. Not 2,000 to 3,000 or 1,000 to 1,500 for these big jars, but some of them brought a lot. 10,000, 8,000, 9,000. And it looks like there's some real interest in Japanese ceramics growing in the UK. It may be just frustration with the prices of the Chinese stuff. People say, well, Japanese things are awfully good. If you look at this is a 17th century Japanese Arita jar. It's a well-known pattern. This particular pattern with the bamboo tree and the tiger is very well known. It's been published. This style of jar has been published in a number of books over the years. And Here you have another one, and it was estimated. I thought pretty moderately at 4,000 to 6,000 pounds. It ended up going for 7,500 pounds, which is around $10,000. You have to keep that in mind. We'll do it in U.S. currency. It was estimated at 4 to 6,000 pounds, so that would be somewhere in the $5 to $7,000 range. It ended up going for 10,000 plus the premium, or around $13,500 for this jar. And it was a pretty good sized jar, but it wasn't absolutely enormous. It was about 16 inches tall, but it was a very attractive porcelain, and it did really well. And that's an interesting thing, and I'm wondering if it's going to have some effect on Japanese ceramics in the United States. But this was a beautiful example. And the other things that sold, this I think went way under the money. This was a sale at Clars, and they had one piece that did quite well, but they had a lot of very good pieces. This is one of those sales where you just leave bids. And this was a steal. This was a very, very attractive Kangxi period dish with a chinois mark on the back, as they often have. It was 6¼ inches in diameter. And I thought this was just such a lovely little dish. Just absolutely beautiful. And it went for just $175. I think that was an absolute steal for a Kangxi dish of this quality. And they had a number of pieces in there that I think went under the money. I'll be very frank about it. And then there was, this was, I think, way under the money. It was a Kangxi jar with Buddhist symbols on it, the Buddhist wheel and so forth. It measured 9 inches tall, and it went for $425 plus the premium. And it was 9.12 inches in height, but had very good cobalt color. The color on this that was very, very strong, and it may have been over lit a little, so the blue is a little more intense than it is in person. But this type of blue, we've all seen it before. It's a very much a sapphire blue, and this one had wonderful color. And I think 4¼ for this was just crazy. I wouldn't have been surprised if this brought 1,000 to 1,500 at all. And it went very reasonably with the premium. Came in at around $550, under 600. So that was a great buy for someone. All right, and this is why you always leave a bid. And this was another great buy. And we've seen these plates before. There was one in the sale out in the Midwest that. Oh God, I can't remember the name of it right now. It completely slipped my mind. The one that had all the Ming stuff 2 weeks ago, and this was a very well known type of a Ming period Hongqi a dish with the phoenix in the middle. And as you remember, the other ones brought at that sale brought 1,100, 1,200, 1,500 in this size. They always measure around 12 inches. This particular type of plate, they always seem to be somewhere in the 11.5 to 12.5 inch range, something like that. They were very consistent. And this was a perfectly good looking dish. And it went for just $350 plus the premium, which I think was a terrific buy for someone. That puts you in at around about $450 for the plate instead of $1,200 or $1,300 plus premium. So obviously a great buy. So the sale was a little bit soft. Now this did very well. This was also in the sale, and this sold for about $9,000. And it's a Wan Li period dragon box. It's a well-known type, and one sold just like it at. It was either Christie's or Sotheby's just 3 or 4 years ago for about $57,000, but it was in very good condition. That one only had a small firing line in the inside of the box. This one obviously has been badly damaged. The lid's been broken in half. You can see all of the former staple holes in the top here. This is in the tops of the old staple repairs. See if we can get a better picture of it. Well, we'll go back to that one. You can see the little dots all along here. Those are all steel staples that were applied to it to preserve it. And whenever you see staples done that much, because in the old days, when they had staple repairs, you paid for each staple. How many staples do you want? How well of a repair do you want? And when you see a plate like this, and I've seen it on a number of years ago, we had a Kangxi dish that still had the staples in it. It looked like a zipper. There were so many. It was a lovely Kangxi dish. But here you can see it was the same thing. Somebody loved this. They recognized it was a very rare thing. It was a Wan Li market period box, and they stapled it to death all the way up. And there's also a repair in the corner down on the lower right-hand side here that had to be fixed. So obviously the lid got dropped, broke in half, and landed on one end, and did all kinds of damage to it. because there's the other one. This sold for about $6,500 plus the premium, so that came into around about $8,500, I guess, for it, $8,200, somewhere around there. Now, the reason I'm pointing all this out and discussing this is this. The rule of thumb on damage. Okay, when you have a piece of porcelain that's damaged, what's it worth? I get that asked all the time. And my general rule of thumb is take 80 to 90% off the price of a perfect piece. If you have a piece like this, I had a couple of inquiries about it while it was there. I was interested in it myself, and because I thought it was I had looked at it several weeks ago. I thought it was very interesting, but it was the value of this piece should be right around 10%. 15% of a perfect piece. Well, the last perfect piece that sold, the last good piece that sold, went for $57,000. So this one, 10 to 15%, that's right about where it landed, just about. So it had lost about 85% of its value, roughly, by being broken like this. Someone will get this restored, though, and I'm sure you're going to be seeing it again somewhere at some point, I suspect. All right. Maybe not. Maybe somebody will buy it and get it restored and keep it. But it's a wonderful example. And the restoration on this, it's going to be $1,000 to fix it. But I think in this kind of case, it's worth it. It's worth it if you have a great restorer. All right. Now, over to this. This was that Republic period vase we talked about last week. I just thought it was very, very nice. And I think I said, well, it'll probably bring over the estimate. And it did. It brought $2,000 plus the premium, around $2,600, $2,550 roughly. And this is it. Nice raspberry ground, probably late Qing to Republic period with this sgraffito ground on it, but beautifully done. A very, very good example. It measured around, what was it, 9 inches? 9 inches tall, and it did fine. It did just fine. And this was at Locati out in Pineville, Pennsylvania. All right. And then one of the last things we're going to talk about is this. We had looked at this last week, and I wasn't sure whether it would be considered, if it was technically sort of an imperial thing or not. If it's not imperial, it's worth, $1,000 to $1,500 or so. Apparently, some people that saw it felt that it was an imperial saucer set. This was I think the general consensus upon examination of it. I guess it was extremely beautiful in person, and I heard from 2 people that had seen it. So after I did the video, they emailed me and said, "Oh, it's even better than the pictures." So it ended up doing really well. It ended up bringing $57,000 plus the premium. So you're up around $71,000, $72,000 for this cup and saucer set. And we had been thinking in the low thousands. But evidently, this is why it's always so good also to go to previews and look at things in person. And I have to say, if Millet Brothers wasn't a 5.5 hour drive from here, I probably would have gone to see it because I thought they were really lovely. Anyway, that's the kind of surprise you can still get in the auction market. And it also shows that the market is still quite strong. All right, for really, really fine things that turn up. And this is a very rare cup and saucer type, so there you go. And other things that sold, this was down at the Christie sale, sort of not a great result. This was the Irene Roosevelt Aitken collection. They'd done a huge amount of promotion on this auction, and they had these 2 very fine Zhaijing period pistol-handled China trade export urns, probably made around 1810. Roughly. They looked awfully good. I don't know what happened. And they ended up sort of falling through the cracks and going for just $3,000, including the premium. And they were estimated at 4 to 6, which I thought was reasonable. That's all they brought. That was the end of it. And they had some other things that did well. They had some ormolu mounted pieces with French ormolu and gilt mounts, and the mounts drove up the prices enormously because they were 18th century mounts. And some of those pieces brought $200,000 or $300,000, $400,000. But the straight China trade stuff, sort of in their sale here, just fell on its face. The decorative market, I think, the interior designers, the decorators, and the collectors, the Francophiles out there, all those, they go after the ones with the fancy French mounts and gilt bronze mounts on them. But at any rate, I don't know what happened, but that's what happened over at Christie's. All right, now what else is going on? Sales that are coming up. Sunburst out in California. Where are they? I never remember there. Pasadena they're the folks that do they do mostly books and auctions of catalogs and reference material. They have a sale coming up with a whole bunch of auction catalogs. If you collect auction catalogs from the major auction houses and you have any holes in your collection, you want to go check it out because they've got some good examples. But they also have some other very good reference books books in here. And I like this little auction house. I've been with them. I bought from them. They're very nice people. This book, the big book by Roger Cavern, Jade, it's been out for many years. And it is a wonderful book because it gives you an overview of not only Chinese jade, but jade from around the world. Because people often think of jade, and people that are interested in Asian art always think China and jade, China and jade. And they forget completely that great jade is made in Mexico. Great jades are carved in New Zealand. All over the world, jade has been discovered on every continent. And he goes through that. He has a significant section, though, in here on Chinese jade. And Roger Cavern is one of the probably, when he was active, one of the top 4 or 5 experts in the world on Chinese jade in the West. And he was also, very influential in China itself with jade collectors. But this is a very good book. It's a thick book. It's a big book. Worth getting. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. Other things that are in the sale is this: they have the Bauer collection over in Switzerland. If you don't have any of the Bauer books, you're missing out. They have great books they put out. It's an institution, the Bauer collection of Chinese art in it, and this is the Jade book. All right, Collection Bauer. They have a great book out, and I've been meaning to do a video on it on monochromes that I bought a while back, and I keep saying I should do a review of this book because it's absolutely great. But all of the Bauer books are fantastic. And I'm going to say something that's a little strange, and I don't understand it, and maybe somebody can leave a comment down below why. I've noticed the price of books in the last 3 years, 4 years, 5 years have plummeted in value, and I don't know why. And book people have told me nobody's buying them. There's no demand for Asian art reference books, which astounds me because there are so many people collecting it. And I think what it's happening is that, and I harp on books all the time, because if you're relying on the internet to solely as your reference source to learn about Chinese art and how to buy Chinese art and identifying authentic things, and you're not buying great reference books and not talking to very good dealers that have been around for a long time, you're going to end up with a house full of fakes. That's all there is to it. You think you won't, but you will. And because I see them all the time on the identifications in the preview inquire service we have, which incidentally, I meant to mention, we've turned that off now because I'm trying to get all caught up before we go away, and I don't want people waiting with their inquiries. So if you have an inquiry and you go to the site, it won't do anything right now. We've disabled it until we get back because one year I didn't disable one of the plugins, and when I got back, I had something like 220 inquiries had piled up, even after saying we're away and we're not doing them for a while, for a few weeks. I came back and I was drowning in inquiries for about the first 10 days after we got home. But at any rate, I urge people to buy focus specific reference books on their area of collecting. I know the idea is that you save money by not buying books so you can buy more antiques. The problem is you're going to buy the wrong antiques. All right, you just will. Buy great reference books. Build up a significant library in your area of interest. And by significant library, when you hit a couple of hundred books, you're getting there. All right, but you really do need to build a collection of any type of art or antique, you must have a reference library. And if you rely on the web solely as your research paper, we provide a lot of it. We have the auction catalogs over on the Bitamount site you can look at. There's 700 or 800 of them over there. We post things on the Patreon site, as many of you know that are subscribers. We post books and pamphlets and brochures and articles and papers, PDF files, magazine format. We do them all the time. We do several of them every week. All right, but you still need books that have great illustrations and go into considerable depth. All right, that's all. And right now, if you haven't been buying books, it's a great time to buy them because the prices are low. All right. And then there's this book, The Art of the Rhinoceros Horn, Carvings of China. There's a couple of good reference books on here. This one was published by Christie's many years ago. I think, what was this? Did it say? Yeah, 25 years. I was going to say 25 years ago. 1999, 27 years ago it was published. These auction houses, it's sad, they used to publish stuff like this all the time. Research papers, Sotheby's did, Christie's did. They did all kinds of great books, connoisseurship and so forth. And as it appears to everybody, I was talking to a dealer in New York this week, and he thinks that the two big auction houses are going to eventually vacate the antique and art market, other than modern art and so forth. He doesn't see any way for them to really do much. in the future because they don't seem to be interested and they're not doing the scholarly work they used to do. And that used to be the thing that separated them from all the other auction houses. They were in a position to do publications, do educated continuing education and all this. And that's been basically skeletonized under the current owner, especially at Sotheby's and Christie's, has sort of left it behind as well. So buy these books while you can get them. All right. But this is a great book. And I know rhino horns can't be bought and sold, but so what? I'm always hopeful that the law will change and the art of ivory and the art of rhino horns can be once again be appreciated without a bunch of scolds screaming at them about the poor rhinos. Sorry, it was done back in the day. They're all antique. They know not what they were doing. I'll put it that way. Grow up. All right, now, what else is going on? Oh, Leland Little, of course. Leland Little has a sale on March 4th in a couple of weeks, and they've got a number of rather nice things coming up in the sale. I'm going to pull up the page here. Hold on a second. Move that over. I'm trying to get things organized up here. It's a little out of order. There we go. There we go. And this is the sale right here. Asian art. There's 100 and something lots on the sale, but there's some really sweet pieces in here, and there's some rather interesting, unusual, atypical examples of some very good paintings and so forth, Japanese woodblock prints and so forth. It's all on Live Auctioneers now. You can always go to their website too at Leland Little and register there and buy there. You save some money. And again, I'm noticing too that on some of these auction sites on Live Auctioneers, the commissions have come down. I've gotten emails from folks. They've noticed that the auction house was 30% a few weeks ago. Now it's 28%. And I think part of it is because everybody's screaming their heads off about the cost of buying at auction. They're losing traffic, and they're also losing traffic to the auction houses' websites, because if you can save 4 or 5% and you're spending $1,000 or more, it's $50 you save for every 1,000 by bidding on the auctioneer's website. You're going to do it, especially if you're getting into large amounts. So anyway, this is the sale, and we'll go through some of the lots. I think they've done a nice job down here with this. This appears to be a collection of blue and white from somebody. There's a very, very nice 18th century teapot, probably Kangxi period, with feet on it, which is sort of unusual. You don't see these very often, but it's nicely decorated all the way around. It's got a very soft palette. It's got a little bit of brown dressing on the rim. It's beautifully potted, though. The potting on this is really quite good. Nice shape, nice feet. The proportions of the spout to the handle to the lid, it all works very, very nicely. And when you go around the other side, there's another landscape scene of ducks along the water's edge. Here they are. It's absolutely a pretty charming little pot, I think. And it's estimated, all their stuff is estimated, usually this is how they do it, $50,000 to $25,000. That isn't a wide enough range for it. I expect this to bring $500 to $700. It may go for more, but it's a very nice teapot. It's already got 25 people watching it, but it's a very good example. And footed teapots don't turn up all that often. It's sort of an unusual type. And the other thing that's in the sale is this. This caught my eye. I thought they were very visually attractive. They're fairly small jars. They measure about 4 inches tall. This little garniture set, but some of them are mounted with. One of them is mounted with silver. But it has these sort of ogival, almost like ogival pattern areas filled in with leaves or something. I guess they're abstract leaves. I think they're very chic looking. They almost look Art Deco when you look at them. They look like something from very sort of modernist stuff. I think they're rather sharp. It probably had another beaker vase at some point, and maybe it lost it or something, because you got 3 jars and 1 beaker, and normally you have maybe 3 jars and 2 beakers, or 3 jars and 3 beakers. But anyway, they're calling it a partial miniature mantle set, which is perfectly fine. These are very attractive. I just think they're really nice. The color's good, the potting is good, and I like the Chinese porcelain with silver mounts. I think it makes it a very attractive package. You know how much they revered the stuff when it got to Europe, that they mounted these pieces with silver and gold and gilt bronze and all kinds of things. And here's a nice silver mount to be adapted into the Western European lifestyle, or the Western lifestyle in Europe. That's when they did these. Any rate, what should this bring? I would think $1,500 to $2,500 ultimately, because they're very interesting and unusual, and I think they're very beautiful. All right, and then there's another teapot here with a 100 antiques pattern on it. This one I think had a repair to the spout, as I recall. Um, it's a nice pot, but I would get this area I would get cleaned up. Whoever did the repair didn't do a great job with it. I'm afraid. And if you got the restorer shouldn't make the piece look worse. And it looks like maybe somebody tried to do it at home with some hide glue, but that's what it should look like. And they've got that. The restorer can use that as a model to fix the spout, as a guide. But at any rate, that isn't a big deal. And there's the bottom of it with the Ming mark on it. Looks like a Wan Li mark for some reason. It's not Wan Li, obviously. Any rate, it should do fairly well. I think it's a fairly standard size. Yeah, 4 by 6 inches, and from spout to handle, that's about right, 6 inches or so. But nice looking pot, and it'll probably bring a little less than a premium price because of the repair to the spout. That's always a hurt. So it'd probably go for somewhere in the $350 to $400 range. All right, and then the Kangxi dish. This is quite nice. Now this is let's see here. How wide is this? 14 inches in diameter. It's a pretty big plate, and it has nice enamels on it. Very nice, very crisp, very clean. And I always like these outdoor sort of family scenes. People sitting around. There's a little balustrade going around their yard. They're sitting on garden porcelain barrels, and they've got a table out, and it looks like it's an instrument. They've got a stringed instrument out on the table and so forth. End of the day, having a cup of tea, hanging out. It's quite nice, and the colors are good on it. It does appear to be a Kangxi example, as far as I can tell by this. Yeah. There's the back of it. Yeah, it's a Kangxi dish. And it's 14 inches in diameter. Should bring $800 to $1,200 at least, somewhere in there. Nice looking porcelain. Very attractive, so check that out. And this was my favorite thing in the sale. And actually, I got a hold of Kendall down there, or she got a hold of me to tell me that it was. I had already looked at the sale, and I got an email from her. She wanted me to know that they had posted their sale, because I communicate back and forth with a lot of auctioneers, and I always tell them, let me know when you have a sale that goes up. And this came the day after I'd seen the sale, and she said, did you see the Ming painting? And I said, yeah, this is a wonderful painting. And this is an enormous painting. This is the thing that really struck me. I was looking at the dimensions of this painting. This painting is 9.5 feet tall, 8 feet wide. All right, the overall scroll. The site size of the painting is 6 foot 8 inches tall. From there to there is 6 feet 8 inches. This is a very big painting, and 5 foot 8 inches in width. So from there to there. So this is not a 2 foot by 2 foot painting. This is a very big painting, and it is from what I can tell by the artwork, the way the birds are done, the colors. It is a Ming painting. It looks to be in quite good condition for a Ming workshop painting. Probably 15th century, I would guess, mid 15th century. Wonderfully done birds, wonderfully done flowers. Cloud outlines of night. Here's the moon coming up over them. It's just a beautiful picture. Should bring $15,000 or $20,000. This is a very, very nice painting. And if they can attribute the artist, I doubt they can, because it doesn't appear to be signed anywhere. But if they can attribute it to one of the great artists, it could do very, very well. Not all Ming paintings are signed. They often are. They typically are, but not always. And this is an awfully good one. And it might have been originally in a set. And there might have been several of them where one of them was signed and the others were not for some reason. But at any rate, this I think is a terrific looking painting. If you want to own a great Chinese painting, this is it. And you could always get it put in a frame, in a shadow box frame, and hang it. It'll look great. It would look absolutely stunning with a nice light on it. Beautiful example. Other paintings in the sale includes this. This is one that was done by after sort of attributed to, or in the manner of Qiu Ying. He was a very, very famous Ming painter. Beautifully done. Try to get zoomed in here a little bit. There we go. Here it is. Lots of detail. Lots of almost microscopic detail. Very typical of these mid 1400s and early 1500s paintings. Beautifully done. They're not saying it's by the artist because that's a tough thing to make a declaration on without having it go through a lot of examination. There's a seal up there and so forth, but it's in the manner of anyway, and it's an excellent picture. And this also is quite large. This is also fairly large. It is just a hair under 7 feet tall and 46 inches wide. So again, another big painting. I suspect this and the other one came out of the same house. They like big pictures. And again, probably a $4,000 to $6,000 picture, maybe more. Hard to judge. Bid on it what you like, but with a $50 opening bid and probably not much of a reserve, if any, I would go after these. Leland Little isn't big on reserves, so you actually have a shot at getting stuff there. All right, and then there's a beautiful pair of Millefiori Republic period vases. These are beautifully decorated, and these are large. These had been made into table lamps. They are 16 inches tall each. And one of the quick ways to tell if something is likely a Republic piece or not is if all else fails. You see these giant bats on the shoulder? These huge bats became very popular during the Republic period, and you'll see them on the edges of chargers. You'll see them on the shoulders of vases. Occasionally, you'll see them on the sides of big bowls. And whenever you see these oversized bats draping the piece, always instinctively think Republic first, and then go from there if there's anything that makes you think it might be a little older. But most of the time, 95 times out of 100, you'll be right if you say it's Republic. Anyway, this is a beautifully decorated pair of vases. They have a hole in the bottom. They have the 4-character Chinlung, enamel seal mark on the bottom. Doesn't mean anything, of course. They used it all the time, and it does say China on the bottom as well, which nobody ever bothered to remove, thankfully. Anyway, but the shading and the enameling on these vases is excellent, and they're big. And they could be made back into lamps easily if you want to use them as table lamps, because they'd be absolutely splendidly beautiful as table lamps. I think they're wonderful, and they should bring a couple of $1,000s in this size, 16 inches. Wonderful size. I don't believe the bodies are cracked. You want to get a hold of them. Get a hold of Leland Little. Just ask them, are there any hairlines or anything else on these? Because if it's just a hole in the bottom, you got something pretty terrific. And then over to this, they've got a nice gilt thread late Qing dragon robe. It's complete. It's got nice long sleeves on it. Appears to be in great condition. I'm going to see if this is. Yeah. Okay. It appears to be silk and not linen, so it's not a summer robe. There's the gold thread, beautiful condition. You get a little color changes because of the light. I'm sure if you laid this out flat, these darker areas wouldn't appear. It's just the way the fabric is folded out under the lights. But very, very nice looking robe. Should bring $1,500 to $2,500. It's already got 32 people watching it. But the silk collectors are still out there in big numbers. A nice looking thing. And then over to this. This is neat. This is in there, and I was kind of surprised to see it, but I was happy to see it. This is an Anglo-Indian inlaid Savonarola chair, and you see these in Europe. They were very popular in Europe and Italy and Spain and so forth. These are like folding chairs. And this one was done in India, but the inlay on it is really, really great. Now this is a late 19th, early 20th century chair, and there's the workmanship on the bottom. If you ever wonder how good the inlays they could do in India were, take a look at this chair. How good they were at it. It's absolutely fantastic. Very good wood selection. This is a beautiful little chair. There it is. All right. But on the back, you have this. This is great. Made in British India. And then up here, it's branded Made in India. So that tells you it was done after 1895. So it's either very late 19th or early 20th century. Could have been made as late as the 1920s, maybe 1915, or was made before that. And and the fact that it has that on there, I think it makes it more interesting, because it gives you a real good window into the time period, and you can recognize these in the future going ahead by having this one. It's 120 years old. It's a neat looking chair, very, very stylish, very decorative. The Anglo-Indian furniture is extraordinary stuff. If you don't have the Peabody Essex Museum on it, I get it. It's worth getting. It shows you all the different areas, all the different types that they made. It's a great book. It was put out it's probably been out now for 15 or 20 years, but it's still available. All right. Buy the books. Buy books. I'm going to say it forever. And then over to this. This is a painting that's in the sale. It's probably a late Qing to Republic painting, but it's awfully pretty. This is a very, very pretty painting. And it was acquired by a woman whose family lived in China during the 1930s to about 1950. And here it is. And you have this sort of recumbent, sort of probably related to somebody in the imperial household for some reason, because she's carrying an imperial fan. These little fans done like this were done in ivory, and all the screen work would have been in ivory, and then they would fit them with exotic materials and what are today endangered species, hornbill and all this sort of thing. But very, very nice. The shading is good. The colors are nice. This is just a very pretty painting, and it's probably not going to go for a fortune. So if you like a really pretty Chinese painting that's 100, 120 years old, this might fill the bill. It's a very nice picture. It needs to be framed because the mount on it has got a tear in it and so forth. The painting ends here, so it's not torn into the painting. It's just torn into the mount. I would immediately get it off to a framer and have it properly suspended, framed, matted, and held, not laid down. You don't want to glue this down to a board to frame it. Just pin it, and it would look lovely. It would look really, really nice. And it's probably going to go for several, it might bring 600 or so, 700, but it'll go for a reasonable amount of money for a nice painting. Good art is always worth owning. And then there's a nice pair of Japanese Amari vases. Now, it's interesting. These are very much in the shape and style of those enormous ones they made. Some of them are, there's a famous one in a John Singer Sargent painting of the daughters, and they're standing next to one of these 6 foot tall Japanese Amari vases done exactly like this. These are not. These are only 17 inches tall. These are like miniature versions of those big ones. We've seen the big ones that are like enlarged versions of little vases over the years. Of course, you see them all the time. This is a case where you have the proportions and style is exactly that of the enormous ones that they made that were 6, 7 feet in height, and they did make them. And these are just 1.5 feet tall. I think they're wonderful, and the color looks good. Meiji Restoration period. They weren't drilled on the bottoms. The quality is good. If you like really good Amari and very interesting shape, these have a very nice shape to them. And they're probably going to go for, $600 or $800 or less. So it's a great opportunity, and they got this honeycomb pattern going over the body, which we've seen before, of course, that Arita wears and Amari wears, and here they are again. So I think these are sort of interesting from that standpoint. And then you have this nice big pair of Japanese bronzes on stands. These are very finely done. They have a couple of little solder repairs on them and so forth, which isn't unusual with these pieces because there are so many corners and edges and things that can get damaged over the years. But these were done during the Meiji period when they were doing all that really, really fine bronze work and fine patination. And this one has nice color, nice deep chocolate brown color, beautifully cast bits. Love the dragons on the shoulder. It's very, 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 very attractive. And these are fairly large. These are not enormous, but they're fairly large. They measure 16 inches in height overall, but awfully attractive. Some very, very good examples. So that's the sale. There's a lot of other things in there too. It's a nice auction. It's a nice auction. And Leland Little, I've had good luck shipping from down there. I've heard from a number of people that have shipped from down in that area. They seem to have figured it out. I guess nobody is using live auctioneers shipping, but if you buy it through the auction house and then get the name of the most popular UPS store in the neighborhood, as I always say, find out from the auction house which is the UPS store the dealers all use, because there's always one that they use the most. I've not had any auction house yet say to me, "Oh, we don't really know." If they've got 7 shippers, where they try to give you every option they can on their own website on who to use, but if you call them and say, "Who's the guy that everybody uses?" they'll always have, Jim over at UPS Ship and Pack. He's the guy. And in general, you get the stuff quicker because he's very familiar. He goes to the auction house a lot. He knows his way around. He knows the people. They trust him, and they've got good relationships, and your things can get picked up without much hassle and shipped to you. So always keep that in mind. But at any rate, that's the sale, and it looks good. We'll get on to the Devin Moisen sale in another video within the next week or so. I'll try to do something with it by next Friday when we're away. And but check it out in the meantime. And there are a few other auctions coming up, as you know. There was one sale coming up that I didn't mention. Hold on. It was a pair of China trade paintings. So I forget who it was that has it. Okay, here it is. This Hill Auctions, March 11th. And they have these they have a $100 to $1,000 estimates. These are very nice. These are tea processing watercolors, beautifully framed, nice gilt frames, French mats going around the outsides. Extremely attractive package. There's two of them in this sale on the 11th. They're being sold separately, and the estimate is $100 to $1,000. And these are fairly good size. The dimensions, the image size is 13 by 18. So these are good size pictures. They're on paper. These are not pith paintings. These are gouaches on paper, either Chinese or English paper or European paper. But at any rate, check those out. They should bring, $800 to $1,200 a piece. Who knows? But again, nice looking. And we'll mention these again probably in another video, but I just wanted to bring that up. Okay, and that's it. And we got some emails last week from folks that were wanted the article on the Augustus is Strong that we had on the newsletter page. We had already changed it. We change it each week. We put in a new article that we find out there, something that we think is interesting to put on the Bid Amount newsletter page, because we're not chasing eBay anymore, because eBay is just if you get something good, you can still put it on there and sell it, but they just don't get the volume anymore. That's why we discontinued it. People keep asking me, why aren't you doing eBay anymore? And it's because they don't have enough stuff worth looking at. When we used to run our searches as on a typical Thursday, getting ready for doing the Friday updates, we would have between 1,200 and 1,500 actively bid on good-looking, authentic Chinese objects. Today, that number is under 100. It's just they've lost. I'm going to say they've lost 95% of their auction market of dealers that sell authentic stuff, and the fake market over there has gone from having 100,000. I remember it was only 50 or 100,000 fakes on that site. Today, I'd say it's upwards of 1,000,001, and it's just such a sewer. And it's too bad, because there are good dealers here and there are good dealers in Europe that would be happy to use the site. It's a great venue, and eBay just went to sleep on them because they don't care. They've got other stuff they're trying to make money on, and they've sold off so many of their assets to stay in business at this point that they've got to find some way to do things. So they're always juggling their books to make it look good. At any rate, it's a sad mess, and we're not going to pay any attention to them. They get it fixed. We'll go back and look at it again and maybe do something. But I sincerely doubt they'll ever do it. They've never liked the antique dealers on there, and they told me so. They were 15 years ago. They told me they were trying to phase out the antiques, but they realized that it was a big part of their weekly traffic, and that the antique buyers often buy in other categories. They buy. Oh, that's our Buck. Buck, come here. Buck, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Here. What are you doing, buddy? So that was little Buck. He's out. So I just let him out. Anyway, that's it for the week. Thanks so much for watching. Stick around. We'll have a video next week from the warmer climates. And subscribe here if you haven't already. Leave a comment. Tell me what it is you're up to. Tell me the kind of stuff that you collect. Tell me what your main area of interest is. I'm really interested. I'm always interested to hear what people are buying out there and what they're finding and so forth. And join us over on Patreon if you like, and subscribe to the newsletter over on Bid Amount. And that's it for the week. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon. All right. Bye-bye.